Good morning and peace, dear brethren, on this beautiful Sabbath. One of the things that we always have to keep in mind is growing in understanding and wisdom. Like the scriptures describe true servants as newborn babes, especially when we're beginning to learn, but we always have to have that nature to be teachable. So let's deal with an important point. When we read in Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter from about the 41st verse to the 48th, 49th verse, we see that our people were punished greatly by our Almighty Heavenly Father for our disobeying His commandments and continuing in 2025 to disobey His commandments. And whatever year this kingdom continues to, that's one of the main issues with our people, that we disobey the Heavenly Father by not obeying His word only. So you have a lot of people that talk about God and still disobey His word, or Ahaya, Yahuwah, whatever name, still disobeying His word. So, and also prioritizing this world. So they may have gotten out of poverty, but they're still sinful. They're still proud. They're now proud because they're not poor anymore. But for the majority of our people and just our own understanding, a couple of precepts that are really going to help us is to understand that the Heavenly Father punished us with being oppressed. And part of that oppression is that we would have to depend on our oppressor to have a functional life, or to be able to even just have the basics of food, clothing, and shelter. Things that the Heavenly Father promises His servants. When we don't serve Him, we have to depend on our enemies for these things. And when we start to understand that, we're not going to be funneled mentally in the direction of doing anything and everything for money. Or then the people that we love, now we're motivated to get money to give to them rather than focus on what the most important thing is, which is to walk in wisdom. When we walk in wisdom, we'll have enough to be able to pay our bills, to be able to have food, clothing, and shelter. Yet we may not live in luxury. And that's one of the ways that Satan traps our people today, is to get them to think of money all the time. Everything is about having a better life for your children, generational wealth. Everything is about money as the priority in this life, because now the Heavenly Father has been omitted and removed from people's consciousness and thinking in this wicked world. It's almost laughable. They make it like the Most High. Only time you hear about the Heavenly Father is to mock Him. Gee, damn. Oh my G. Everything. The only time we hear about the Heavenly Father is in a disparaging, afterthought saying. So we have to continue to remove ourselves from this wicked world that we live in, and the mentality, to be able to then understand scriptures like this in the right way. So let's go to Luke 12. Okay, because the Most High's wisdom and His word, the biblical Jesus Christ, not Christianity, not Catholicism, that has nothing to do with the biblical Jesus Christ, other than trying to attach His name to things and attach His name to their false images and idolatry, and what the world pushes, what Satan through this world pushes. So we're going to Luke chapter 12 and verse 15. It says, Luke 12. So it says, and He said unto them, take heed and beware of covetousness, for a man's life consisteth not in the abundance of the things which he possesseth. Meaning that our value as a man, our value as a people, our value as an individual isn't because of the job title we have, the zip code we live in, the car we drive, the so-called white man's name brand clothing that we wear. So many of our people, because we don't follow the Heavenly Father, or don't know the ways that we are being deceived, even now, even when knowing we're Israelites, we put too much of a premium or value on material things, or our house, or the pressure from our woman to put her in a position so she feels comfortable to compete and debate with the people she interacts with, or her family members, or her friends, or whoever else, or her co-workers. So that's why, let's read it again. These are commandments now, and it's also wisdom. So pay attention. Luke 12:15, and he said unto them, take heed, be very careful, pay attention closely to this warning and live according to this warning. And beware of covetousness. So we have to take heed to the scriptures, which include bewaring of covetousness, bewaring of your greed, bewaring of the wicked thoughts that you have that in a wicked world are normal. Covetousness means wicked desires, sinful desires, desires against what the Heavenly Father commands. And that's all that exists in this wicked world. The pride of life, what you have, who you are, what makes you different than all the black people that are in the ghetto. We can't have a mind that's serving the Heavenly Father and a part of this world and the way this world thinks and functions. Can't do that anymore. That's why we're constantly warned to beware of covetousness, to beware of how easy it is to be trapped in sin. Not foolishly and overconfidently thinking that you can't be weak or you're not falling right now. Let's continue. It says, for a man's life consisteth not in the abundance of the things which he possesseth. So our value in life is not due to the car we drive, the education of the so-called white man's universities or colleges that we've attended or have achieved. That's not what makes life important. What makes life important is learning what the Heavenly Father commands us and walking in wisdom. So no matter what trials we face, we'll be loyal. No matter what we're going through, we'll be selfless enough to care about others also. No matter what we achieve or what we don't have, we'll always put the Heavenly Father first. So we can comfortably and wisely put our children, our wife, our friends, strangers, anybody that we interact with, we can always apply the right commandments and how we're instructed by our Father through his word. That's what life is about. So now let's go to Timothy, because this is also a good precept. 1 Timothy chapter 6, and we're going to get right to the point. Chapter 6, verse 9. This whole chapter is excellent. Make sure you read it. It says, but they that will be rich fall into temptation and a snare. Meaning that when we see everyone around us striving to get more money, especially in America, capitalism, you know, if you work hard and you get your own business, no one can stop you. You can do whatever you need to do, and you know, dog eat dog. If they're weak, that doesn't. So everyone is funneled and pushed into being covetous, capitalism. So what the Heavenly Father commands us is to be cautioned by the wickedness they do. And a lot of times we're young, we don't see the beginning and end of a person, or decades into mistakes, or their mindset, and then the end of that, those sins and the end of that. So the Most High is helping us to be wise even when we're young, even as adolescents, even children that are supposed to be taught these commandments and this wisdom by their parents. If you weren't taught it, you teach your children, you teach yourself. You pray for the Heavenly Father to teach you. That's how you teach yourself. So let's continue. It says, but they that will be rich fall into temptation and a snare. Snare means a deadly trap you won't escape from. And into many foolish and hurtful lust, which drown men in destruction and perdition. Because in this world, if you're an athlete, that's people's dream. If you're selected to be an actor or a model, you're walking in the mall, you're walking in the street or the park. Hey, someone sees you. Hey, you can be a model. You can be a movie star. They think that's the greatest thing in the world. That's actually some of the ways, the main ways that Satan traps not only the person that's going to be the victim, but then everyone that knows that everybody now is like stirred up by the money or by the fame, by the glory, instead of glorying in the Heavenly Father, instead of glorying in his mercy, instead of glorying in knowing him, they glory in everything else that has nothing to do with the Heavenly Father and what he warns us to be cautious and avoid. Not set that as our priority or as our end goal or as our motivating tool in life. Let's continue. For the love of money is the root of all evil. So money in and of itself is not evil. The love of money is the root of all evil, because people then, in a world like this and in their own way, put money as their God. Money is the end all be all. They'll do anything for money because now they could get girls now and deal in those other lusts. Now they could get drugs. Now they could go other parts of the world and get women cheaper over there. That they have a mind that's corrupt, and money allows them to fulfill those lusts or feel like somebody, because the Heavenly Father, for our people's wickedness consistently and throughout time, has punished us now in these lifetimes with poverty, with suffering related to poverty. He's brought us so low so that we could actually acknowledge our sin, but instead our people just continue to add more sin. So when we start to understand these commandments, we can start to return to the Heavenly Father and the right way of thinking truly about life and reality, not just the reality that you're hungry and poor, and now you're going to justify robbing people, carjacking people, coming up with scams to manipulate people, manipulating young women so they can now seduce men and getting their money. You want to be a pimp because you're poor. And because, hey, that what's I got to do with me? Hey, that's that fool. If he got, we can't think like that. Because now, no matter how much money you have or don't have, you're not loving your neighbors yourself. You tricking someone, you fooling someone, you deceiving someone, you manipulating someone. Not only wouldn't you like that, but the Heavenly Father is sitting back and observing us. He loves us, but he also loves judgment. He loves us, but part of that love is to correct us as his sons and daughters. That's why we inhabit the ghetto. We are everywhere in Puerto Rico. They call it caseríos. In Brazil, they call it favelas. Wherever our people are specifically, we suffer abject poverty. And the majority of our people want to distance themselves from that. And by not understanding what life really is and follow only their reality, they continue to just add sin to sin. Make money, education. Which one of our women doesn't think education is the key to life? Because that's how Satan has them now getting over us. They're men. Behind enemy lines and suffering oppression and captivity and poverty. And our continued link to slavery and poverty. It's because you have a title. We can't escape reality, but we have to be wise enough to walk in the wisdom of the Heavenly Father, which will now distance us from the sufferings that brought us and keep us in poverty in the first place. So let's finish up. So it says, for the love of money is the root of all evil, which while some coveted after, they have erred from the faith and pierced themselves through with many sorrows. So the Heavenly Father is showing us that the faith is not Christianity. The faith is not Catholicism, Islam, Israelite groups. The faith is the biblical Jesus Christ, the Bible, when we read in Psalms chapter 2, verse 11 and 12. That's what we have to believe in. That's what we have to prove by keeping commandments that we believe in. The biblical Jesus Christ, the Heavenly Father's word. That's how we follow and obey the Heavenly Father. That's how we worship the Heavenly Father in spirit and truth. So by us learning the word, instead of being caught up in many sorrows and adding problems upon problems, or now you have all these credit issues, you have all this chaos in our life because we want material things, or we don't understand how we're being deceived and manipulated. We have to slow down, start to learn these scriptures and apply this commandment. But thou, O man of God, flee these things and follow after righteousness, godliness, faith, love, patience, meekness. Fight the good fight of faith. So this is where us as men, you have a woman, you're interested in a woman, select her on the basis that she's going to hear the word, that she can actually admit that she's wrong, so she can be a newborn babe and grow in the word. And even if she's been in the scriptures for years, she can admit when she's wrong. She can correct herself by the scriptures like we all must, whether she's a single mother or whether she's your woman and you guys have children together. So, all right, beloved brethren, take heed to these scriptures and make sure that our poverty or our desire to be beyond what we are is led and guided by the scriptures and by our right mind that can easily be deceived in this wicked world. So examine yourself daily by the word. Holy hugs, all honor, praises, and glory to our Almighty Heavenly Father through his word in our life, the biblical Jesus Christ. Peace.